like to thank the Paradigm Group itself for inviting me into the college to talk about a subject that I've been involved with for most of my life, but light and sound healing, which I'm going to explain to you, I would say probably for the last 24 years of my life I've been heavily involved with that. What I usually do when I lecture, I try to gauge the level of knowledge of my audience, and then I try to base my lecture in accordance to what you know. Because part of it is involving chakras, and are you all aware of what chakras are? Yes. You know then the human aura around the body, of course. Why is it important? Can somebody explain to me why the human aura is very important? Yes?
Is it because it's actually like layers of our consciousness, like our emotions and our mind are actually like energy fields around us?
That's right, exactly. It is almost like a blueprint of all the emotional things that are going on inside ourselves. And when Kirlian photography was invented, you probably all know what Kirlian photography is, it proved once and for all that every living thing has an energy field around itself. Not just us, plants, trees, animals, anything living has an energy field around itself. And the interesting thing is that if a person had lost a finger or had a leg or an arm amputated, Kirlian photography will actually show the image of where that part of the body once was. And that might explain why people have phantom pain in a leg that isn't there anymore. And even to the point that they could take a maple leaf where part of it had been damaged and take an image of that leaf and where the part had been torn, damaged, however, whatever, there is the image of that leaf. It's still there. But why the energy of us is important also to understand, because we're all educated to know that when does our life actually end? When does our life come to an end? Somebody answer that.
It doesn't.
In this physical world, as you know it now, no, it goes on forever, it's very true. But the existence that you're experiencing right now, when does your life end?
When the body dies. When the body dies.
But what actually happens, what I'm trying to get at here, is that we're educated to understand that our life ends when our heart stops beating, correct? Incorrect. Your life is actually ended before your heart stops beating. Because that life current energy that we've been talking about is actually retreating. They've taken Kirlian photography of people like you, very healthy, and your energy fields would be way out here. They've also done that with a person who's almost at the point of dying. And the energy is barely making it above the surface of the skin. Edgar Casey. Do you all know who Edgar Casey is? The sleeping prophet. Well, he was lecturing in New York City in the 1930s. And he was staying at a very, very big hotel. And I don't know what floor he was on, but it doesn't really matter. But he pressed the elevator button to go down to the lobby. The elevator came, and the doors opened. And all these people that are standing on the elevator, he was in shock, because none of them had an energy around them. Now, Edgar Casey could see everybody's aura, as clear as anything. He could look at you, and you, and you, and you, and he would know the state of your emotions by the various shades of the color, by just looking at you. As a matter of fact, he thought everybody could see people's auras, but of course, we can't all see aura. And so, he was so shocked that he stepped back. And as I say, there were several people on the elevator, various ages, and they were staring at him like, are you going to get on, or you're not going to get on? What are you going to do here? The doors closed, the elevator plunged to the bottom of that building, and all those people lost their lives. Case in point, they were already dying or dead. Their soul had already left their bodies. The body was simply going through the last motions of life, existence, whatever you want to call it, in this existence. So this is what I try to emphasize with people, is the importance of understanding that it is our energy that's the most important thing, and how that energy is affected by us and life. Human emotions, you got the nail on the head with that one. Our emotions have more to do with our well-being than pretty well anything else. Yes, I understand there are hereditary things, I understand that. But from all the years that I have been doing the work that I do, I can tell you clearly your emotions have more to do with your well-being than anything else. And the problem is this: you can't remember right the way back to when you were first born. And many people have difficulty in remembering the first 4 or 5 years of their life. Think about that. Because when I lecture and there are children in the audience, I will always ask, how old are you? Now, how far can you remember back? And about the furthest, one little boy went back was about 2 years of age. And I said to him, how much do you remember when you were 2? And there was just one small thing he could remember. So, even for him, 2 years of his life, he can't explain. The average age is about 4 to 5, where all of a sudden, yeah, I can remember back when I was 4. I remember a few things that happened there. What I'm trying to say here is that those early years of your lives are like a foundation of your emotional houses. If you've ever stopped and said to yourselves, I don't know why, and I think that's the giveaway here. I don't know why I get angry. I don't know why I get depressed. I don't know why I feel the way I feel. And you really honestly cannot put your finger on why you feel a certain way. I'm going to tell you, that emotion was formed in your first 5 years. And how can you understand why you feel a way if you don't know what created it? How can you? I know that because I work on children. Very, very young children. And if you were parents and you had a child, and you laid your hands on the child like sometimes I do, and I pull my hands away, and it feels like someone's got a big jar of sticky honey. It's the only way I can describe it. Pouring it all over my hands. That is the energy that I'm pulling from that young child. That is emotional energy. This child hasn't lived yet a life, hasn't had a relationship yet. It's not a teenager fighting with their parents or competing against their peer groups. So why then would a child have all this heaped up anger, guilt, resentment, I'm not good enough, I'm not loved type of emotions? And so I can take it from the child right way through to adults, to people even in their latter part of their lives. And if that emotional energy from that chakra had never been balanced or cleared, it would remain with you all your lives, because you don't know what it is you need to let go of. Once you reach 5, everything that happens in your life, you have control over, whether you will be angry, or whether you will forgive, or whether you won't forgive, is entirely your free will. You have an understanding of that. And so you would be creating changes in your aura, changes in your balance of your bodies, by the very emotional things that you were either having guilt about, blame, anger, any of that. You would be changing your energy field. So think about that. That you have the control of your lives, nobody else. You. You're a product of your own creation. People say, if it wasn't because of him, her, this, that, my life wouldn't be the way it is today. It's the blame trip here. Blaming of why I'm not succeeding in my life. If I fail, I cannot blame my mother and father. I can't. My mother and father gave me life, but they didn't give me the blame capability, then when things go wrong, I'm going to say it's your fault. But you see, what you're doing is you're changing the balance of your body by doing that. And within that part of the energy center, depending upon when you started or people start doing these things, they start altering the balance of their body. Very, very much so. You might wonder why I have tuning forks. I want you to think of this. Each one of your chakras produces a frequency and a vibration that actually travels outward and creates a layer of color around you, which of course is the human aura. I want you to think of something. I want you to imagine that you're an artist, and I've given you 2 canvases and a paintbrush for each one of them. And I've given you an artist palette, and on that palette, I have squeezed every shade of green you can imagine. I want you to tell me or think the shade of green you might use for somebody who does have guilt, does have blame, does have anger, doesn't even like themselves. I'm not interested in what the painting is, I'm only interested in the shade that you might select. All right? So, let's put that aside. Let's look at the other canvas. Again, it's green, all the shades of green. Only this person goes with the flow of life. Yes, things do go wrong in that person's life, of course they do. But they don't have anger and guilt and blame. They understand that if things always went right, and if they were always happy, they wouldn't know they're happy, because there's no yardstick of measurement. There's nothing to compare with why should I be happy or sad. And so, if we understand exactly that concept, that when things go very, very wrong, it's usually a very big life lesson that you're going through. And you can either succeed and graduate, or you're going to have to redo it over and over and over and over again in your lives. But anyway, this second painting. What shade of green might you use to illustrate somebody who does go with the flow of life? Would somebody just like to say what they would do with the first canvas? Yes?
Like a really dark evergreen, almost.
All right.
Almost like a lot of black. Is
Yeah. Anybody else?
I was going to say something really pale for the
Really
first.
pale?
Yeah.
Like what sort of a shade might that be? Pale.
Just really, really light green. Maybe, I don't really know how to describe it. Yeah.
All right, light. Anybody else? Okay. Yes.
I feel like just like a gross green with like some maybe like the brownish kind of green kind of.
There's no other colors to mix here. It's just the green.
Just green.
Mhm.
Just like kind of gross green.
Rose green. All right. Put that canvas aside. What about the second canvas?
almost like a lime green, like a nice, vibrant, rich.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I would say vibrant, really vibrant, like right in the center.
So how does this, the difference between the first one and the second one? I don't understand, because you said that was light too.
No, I was thinking vibrant would be like more bold. Like you can see it from really far away for the second one. In the first one, I was thinking more pale green, where you could hardly see it. It almost blends in with the canvas.
Actually, it's almost the opposite on that first one. You see, it's a dense vibration. You're creating, that person would be creating a lot of acidity within their body, and they would be actually changing the vibration of that particular chakra to the point that it would actually be producing a very heavy, dense color. And the person who goes with the flow of life, their energy would be very, almost like translucent. It would be very, very light, to match exactly the energy of that. And why did I pick green? Does anybody know why I actually picked green?
Heart chakra?
It's the color of the heart chakra, that's right.